Belgium's King Philippe is on a 6-day trip to the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's seen as a chance for reconciliation between the two nations. King Philippe met with Congolese President and reiterated his deepest regrets for Belgium's colonial past. During Belgium's rule, millions of Congolese were killed, mutilated, or died of disease as the land was pillaged for resources. A highly sensitive visit. Let's talk more about that with Genevieve Kaninda. She is the coordinator of the collective colonial memory and fight against discrimination in Belgium, and she joins us now from Brussels. So good to have you with us. This is, if I understand correctly, the first time that King Philippe is visiting Congo. Why now?
Exactly. It was a visit that was highly expected. It was postponed, I think, for like 2 or 3 times. And I think that it is really important now because it is happening in a very specific context. Belgium is now working on its colonial past now for a year and a half. So, yeah, it was quite an important visit for the king to go to Congo this year and to renew, I think, his regrets to start new relationship with the countries.
But it seems quite late. I mean, Belgium's brutal history in Congo and the region, as you know more than anyone else, is very well documented. Has Belgium reckoned successfully with its colonial past, in your view?
Sorry, can you repeat? I didn't hear you well, sorry.
Do you feel that Belgium has reckoned with its very difficult colonial past in the region?
I think that it is a good start. I think, yeah, it's quite late because our collective has been working on that question since 10 years now. And we've been saying since 2012 that Belgium has to recognize his past, his colonial past, here in Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, because it still has consequences here in Belgium on the population of African descent. So, yeah, it is quite late, but it was necessary.
Okay, you talk a little bit more about that. I mean, how has Belgium's colonial past, how is it reflected in current day, contemporary Belgium?
Yeah, when our collective was funded in 2012, the objective was to fight against anti-Black racism here in Belgium. And when we funded the collective, we thought, what is the roots of the anti-Black racism here in Belgium and even in Europe? And when we talk with historian people, with people from academic field, with other collectives and citizens, we clearly saw the link between the colonial past and the racism. Why? Because when Belgium colonized Congo, it had to be a propaganda produced. Why? Because the king and the state had to convince people that colonization was something good. And so they produced stereotypes about African people, about Congolese people, about Africa, saying that Africa was not civilized, that we needed that Africa needed the colonization, to be civilized. And what we saw is that, yes, officially, the colonization stopped in 1960, but the propaganda that was produced, to convince people about the good of the colonization didn't stop to go and to circulate in the society. And this propaganda, those stereotypes produced back in the days are still present and are the roots of the discrimination now, the structural discrimination and racism that African descent people are facing in Belgium.
Genevieve Kaninda, coordinator of the collective colonial memory and fight against discrimination, joining us from Belgium, Brussels. Thank you so much for your time.
Welcome.
Genevieve Kaninda, she is the co-coordinator of the collective colonial memory and fight against discrimination. She's in Belgium. She joins us from Brussels. It's good to have you on the program. The king is in Congo. In your opinion, what would be the best outcome of this visit?
Thank you so much for the invitation. First, I would say that there is no better outcome. I would just say that the speech that the king gave today in Congo was a step in the right direction for the relationship between the two countries, because the speech was really about recognizing the past without minimizing what the colonial system was. So it was really a good step in the right direction, and I just hope that this will be the beginning of a relationship where the states treat each other as equals.
This is about a lot more than just the king, though, isn't it? Belgium's brutal history in Congo and the region is well documented. Has it begun reckoning with its colonial past?
Yeah, Belgium is trying to work on its colonial past since a half and a year now. I would say that it's quite late because our collective was funded 10 years ago in 2012, and at this time we were saying to the politics, that they needed to work on the colonial past, because this colonial past has consequences today on the African descent people living in Belgium, and this is something that we say since 10 years now. And Belgium, finally, the Belgian state, the political power finally decided to start working on its colonial past in 2020.
And what does that look like, Genevieve? I mean, are we talking about history that's taught in schools? Give me a tangible example of how the wrongs of the past can be addressed legitimately in the present.
Okay, so this is really have to be global. For example, for the moment, we have a commission that is working on the colonial past. This is only the beginning. What we say is that, for example, the history of colonization needs to be taught in schools, because for the moment, this is not something mandatory in the Belgian schools to learn about the colonization. So you have sometimes students that come out of schools and that didn't know, for example, that Belgium had a colony in the past, and it's a big problem, because we say that if we don't know the past, we cannot understand the present nor build the future here in Belgium.
Right.
So you have to have
I was going to ask you, I mean, when you suggest, for example, that the colonial history be taught in schools and there's pushback, I mean, how is that justified? I mean, how do the people that you're working with, how do they tell you that they think colonial history should not be taught?
This is mainly because in Belgium, the colonial past before 2020, we just didn't speak about it at all. It was something very cultural in Belgium. We didn't speak about it. So people were very, I would say, maybe ashamed, because when we say, okay, you need to speak about that in school, it means you have to speak about everything. And when for the last 60 years, you didn't put that in the history books, you didn't speak about the exaction of colonization, how can you, be able to speak without being ashamed of colonization, because we just never spoke about it. And so, I think that it was a feeling of shame to speak about it. Yeah.
Genevieve Kaninda, we appreciate your time and your insights tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome.